I'm in a major DIY mode right now. I moved into this apartment on Monday. It's Wednesday now, and I'm still unpacking stuff, but I'm starting the process of figuring out how I want to set up the apartment in terms of aesthetic and decoration and stuff like that. And the thing that keeps coming up for me is that I just want to fill this place with color. Two great things about that. One, my rental property actually allows me to paint, so that's exciting. As long as I paint before I leave, we're all good. I've double checked this with them, so we got the green light. The other thing is, I'm a hobby girl. I'm a craft girl. I've got tons of time. I guess that's number 3. I'm unemployed right now. So I kind of just think we're gonna make this a really cool, fun, funky apartment. I don't know, just make a space that makes me feel happy and makes me smile and makes me feel creative. So you're wondering, Addie, what time is it? We're sitting in a bathtub. What's the context? So yeah, it is probably 10:30 at this point. I made the mistake of having a coffee at 4:30, but we're in the bathtub because my first painting project is actually going to be to paint the walls around my shower. So I'm not going to be painting any full walls in this apartment. That's above my pay grade and my skill set, which is all 0. Just zeros across the board there. But I just have a really clear idea of a fun little pop of color that I want to add to the shower. I'm really into pink and red together right now. I just think it's so fun. So I was thinking about that. I was thinking about how I like pink and red. And then that reminded me that one of my favorite escapes in Brooklyn, the borough I love so much that I just moved away from, is Cleo's Yarn Shop, and their color scheme is also pink and red. So I don't know. I just kind of feel all these things were swirling together in my mind, and I was like, I've got to do it. So here's what we're doing. Around the rim of the shower, I'm going to paint a thin pale pink stripe. And then above that pink stripe, extending all the way to the ceiling, I'm going to fill the rest of the walls with red. I went to Lowe's today. I picked up the pink color. I'm not totally sure on what red I want to do. And that's going to be a lot less forgiving than the pink. So I'm going to start by laying down the pink and letting that fully dry. And then I got some of the color cards, of different red options that I'm looking at. And once the pink dries, I'll put the red up, kind of sit with it for a while in the sliding, and then decide from there. I did think that the color was a little less bright than this, but we persist. It is time to paint the red, and I have been procrastinating because I'm nervous. I also discovered that this painter's tape and the paint that my apartment complex uses don't really mix, so that's fun and exciting. Luckily, I only really have the tape so far on the tile of the bathroom and the paint that I put down, but it's so weird. The paint that they put in this apartment itself, it's if you turn a corner and you brush the corner, it falls off. So it's not very good paint. And I was originally trying to put tape on these corners, so I made sure that the, red doesn't peek over the side, but I think I'm just gonna hope for the best there because I tried to put some tape down and it's fine. I stopped before it got bad, but I tried to move it and it started to lift and I was like, okay, abort. That's scary considering what we're about to do, but no turning back now. A note on the paint color. I hung up a few different swatches on the wall. I have a warmer rusty red, a strawberry color, and then a deep classic red. That's what's back there. I thought that I wanted a deep classic red, but then when I put that up there, the shower doesn't get much light, so it just looks really dark. And I think that when you're in the shower, rather than being the warm, cool, cozy vibe that I was hoping for, the kind of fun escape, it turned into scary den. So actually the color that I'm going for, it's called Whipped Strawberry, and I think that's a pretty apt name. It's not so much a true red as it is a deep pink. So I think that'll be kind of cool because it's going to end up being bright pink and red pink, which I think, when you're doing bold color combos, going in the same color, like monochromatic scheme is always a safer way to do it. So that's quelled my fears a bit. I think like even if it's not exactly the vision that I had in mind originally, I know it's gonna look good because it's pink and pink. Okay, getting the first coat on there took a lot longer than expected, but it's on, and I think it looks really good. It was so scary before I had the full first coat on. I was like, oh my god, this looks so bad. But now, like, that it's behind me, I'm like, okay, that's cute. It took a long time because it's red, so it's like super unforgiving. So I was being really, really careful around the corners, and then also just like around the tape. I was just like making sure I went over the tape with my hand and then painted, and I had to be really careful around the ceiling. I have a really tall step ladder, but I still like there's some awkward angles with the edge of the tub and stuff, and I'm trying to do this like really carefully because I'm here alone. So it just took a while. But now that that first coat is on, I think the rest of the coat should go pretty quickly. The pink is poking through a bit, and that's why I know I need to do another coat, because that's just not concealed, and I have a feeling that it's gonna get covered up in the next one. But okay, let's take a break. It's time to do the second coat of paint in here, and I actually have a feeling that this second coat is gonna be the last one. As this paint has dried, like, it is just so opaque. I'm really only doing a second coat because you can kind of see the pink from the initial stripe that I put down coming through a little bit. So I'm really just gonna focus my roller on that area. I can tell that there's just like a lot of layers of paint on this wall because it's a rental, so they've just like repainted this room a bunch of times. So I definitely don't want to do like more coats than I need for no reason. So I'm gonna try and be really practical about this application. Also, I really tweaked my neck painting this yesterday. I think just like craning and reaching all weird has kind of messed me up. So I got the hard to reach areas pretty well, so I'm just not gonna touch them again. If anyone's looking that closely at the corners of the ceiling in my shower, like, they're looking way too close. Okay, it's been a good long while, and I've literally been watching paint dry. Haha. If this wasn't a rental, I would probably paint another coat. I can still see the lighter pink underneath the red, but I'm also looking for it. I just really think the bigger problem would be putting too much paint on these walls and then having it be a disaster when I'm moving out and I'm trying to paint over it. You know, just like wall condition stuff in terms of the rental of it all. I also think that once I take the tape off and we see the pink, the contrast is going to be so strong, you're not going to notice any bit of the pink underneath the red that you can see. So, oh my god, I'm procrastinating now, but let's just do it. Oh my god. We can fix it. We can fix it. It's nothing immediate. I am going to pull from the other side. Sorry to use a term that is so overused, but like I am shook. I doubted this choice so many times while I was working on this. When I put the pink on the wall, it ended up being much pinker than I thought. When I purchased this pink, I got it because I thought that it was like really light. Like I thought that it was almost pastel-y. And then I put it on the wall and it's like this straight up baby pink color. And I was like, oh no. And because the pink was a little bit different than I thought, I had to go with a different red than I initially had in mind, which was much more pink itself. So there were just like little things that were happening along the way where I was like, oh my gosh, I know my vision would look good, but I don't think this is my vision. Somehow, all those snafus aside, this ended up coming out exactly how I wanted it to. I actually think that pink ended up being a happy little accident because the pink, being like a true baby pink, has some nice like purpley blue undertones to it. Like it's very cool. And because of that, I had to go with a cool toned red to get the look that I wanted. And that's why it goes with this so well, because this curtain is so cool toned. I'm really excited about it. I ended up only doing 2 coats of the red and then just doing some touch-ups on the pink along the way. And I'm happy with that because I ended up not having to do too thick of a coat of this paint. I'm going to thank myself for that when we're moving out and I have to paint over this because I have to paint over this myself. If you're looking to undertake a similar project, my advice to you would be to sit with your color samples and wait. I didn't do that for the pink. I just brought the pink home, but that's okay because then, you know, once I had the pink on the wall, I could decide on the other color later, and that was kind of why I did it that way. But with the red, I brought home a few samples that I had a feeling were what I wanted, and I taped them to the wall and I just kind of sat on it overnight and thought about which one I liked the best. And in doing that, I ended up going with the one that I thought was nowhere near what I was looking for, and it ended up being exactly what I wanted because I waited. I'm the kind of person with stuff like this, I want to get it done. That snap was not very loud. So I'm really glad that I didn't let my impatience get the best of me and I actually like really thought this decision through. So that would be my big advice if you're doing something like this. I'm really excited about this. I think it's gonna be a cozy little shower corner. And I like that once the curtain's up, you can hardly even see the paint job, honestly. So it's kind of like a nice little hidden gem of the apartment now, which I think is really cool. I also do love that it will remind me of my favorite yarn store in Brooklyn. Like I think that is like such a sweet little subconscious thing that I'm so glad I like put together in my color choices. It'll just be nice, you know, to have those little reminders of places that made me happy in New York. So what a success. We do have other things to work on though, so let's get going. Our next project is going to be this side table for my couch. This is a hand-me-down from my parents and it's perfect for this couch. Like the height is just right. As you can see, it like tucks under the couch on the bottom and then you can pull it over the armchair. It's literally perfect for craft nights when I'm watching a movie or something, and it was free. So it's a gorgeous table, and I have a feeling there would be people that are going to be angry about what I'm going to do to it, but though it is very beautiful, it doesn't fit what I want the vibes of the living room to be. I really want you to walk into the living room and feel like you're somewhere fun that's like inspiring and creative and full of color, and I just like don't want to take it seriously. I just kind of like want to make the living room that like I've always wanted to have. I'm literally going to put a happy face on this table. Controversial but true. By the way, did you know that the phrase smiley face is copywritten? I'm pretty sure I learned that from a Made in the Moment video. So I'm not painting a smiley face. I'm painting a happy smile. So let's go over what this is going to entail. I'm actually pretty hopeful that this shouldn't take too long, but like famous last words. The design in this table is made by wood carving, so there's like a bunch of indentations in the table. I got some spackle so I can fill those holes, all those grooves, and then I'm gonna sand over that spackle, and then we're just gonna go for it and we're gonna paint on it. It's just about 5 o'clock, so I think if I get started on the spackle process now, by like later tonight, I'll be able to start painting. I feel like spackle dries pretty fast. Oh, by the way, like for this whole video, if I'm doing anything technically wrong, I'm using like home reno materials and you're like, oh, that's actually not how you use it. I don't want to know. It's not even that like I don't care, because like I think that information and like that knowledge is really important and valuable. It's just like if you're seeing this video, I've already done all these things. So let's just get into it. I've done 2 coats of paint on the table and I'm gonna let it dry for a little bit. Something that I noticed is that there's a lot of little bubbles in the paint. I discovered that I think what it actually is like particles from the spackle left over. I think when I dusted off the table, I didn't do it thoroughly enough. So I'm gonna let everything completely dry. I think I'm not gonna keep painting this until tomorrow actually. Like I'm gonna like really let it dry. And then tomorrow I might even sand over those areas again and then really dust that off just to get everything smoother before doing the final layer of paint. And I'm gonna do the final layer of paint with a roller. I tried doing that for my second coat on this, but I needed the brush because the brush gets everything like super pigmented and the wood on this table is really dark. So yellow covering a dark thing, I'm gonna need like a few coats. So I'll do the last coat in the roller, just kind of get that like all over texture and make everything really even. But I have a tendency when I'm working on projects like this to just like full steam ahead even when there's a mistake. But this time around I'm like, let me actually pause, let everything dry, and then try and like do an actual sensible solution to this problem. So that's what we're gonna do. The time has come to paint the happy face on the happy face table. I was hoping that I would be able to print out a template of sorts and then just cut it out and put it on the table, but I can't find this like one piece that I need to make my printer connect because I'm, let's not forget, still unpacking my new apartment. So instead of like tearing all my bags up looking for that because it's like a teeny tiny piece and I just don't want to do that right now, I'm gonna go old school. So I'm going to just tape together a bunch of pieces of printer paper and I'm going to put them on top of the table, and I have some erasable pencils and everything. So I'm just going to look at a reference photo and freehand it. It's like so not what I want to do, but it's kind of my only option at this point, and it's the only thing I can think of so that I don't have to like freehand directly onto the table. So I guess this is a good time in the painting video to tell you guys that like I'm really not very good at like painting. I am just not a visual artist. Like drawing, painting, clay, not my thing. Like I love it. I love doing it and I love looking at it, but I'm not very good at it. So this is really just scary. Fingers crossed for me. In order to make the top of the table actually like finished and not just like paint that is susceptible to staining and damage and stuff, I picked up this. I've used polyurethane to seal things before, so like I'm not gonna act like I totally don't know what I'm talking about here, but this is lacquer and I don't know the difference. Let's just go ahead and start spraying this and see how it goes. I'm gonna have to do a lot of coats of this and it's almost 3. So hopefully this happy table can be done by tonight, but we're gonna have to do quite a few coats of this. So let's go get one done. really don't know if I should have just sanded it, but I can see this table from inside as it's drying, and I was just looking at it and I was like, that texture is so uneven. I think I might actually do a little bit more because it looks like I'm gonna have to repaint here anyway. I'm not gonna lie to y'all, everyone that I told about this happy face table idea didn't get it. My partner, I was FaceTiming him while I was first filling in the texture and the carving on the original table design, and he was like, that table's so cool. Is that what you're putting the smiley face on? And I was like, yes. All I'm gonna say is keep sipping on the haterade, y'all, because now that it's said and done, everyone that's seen it is like, wow, what a cute little pop of color in the room. And I was like, I know. This was a fun one to do, and I think I actually liked working on this so much because I learned a lot in doing it. I learned a ton about spackling and sanding. I think that was the big lesson from this one, was like the value of sanding when you're working on painting pieces of furniture, and especially when you're focusing on like upcycling furniture. As I mentioned to you guys earlier, after I had initially sanded this, when it was just wood and spackle, I didn't do a very good job of dusting off that sand, so then when I put down my first layer of yellow, it was bumpy and crazy looking. Luckily, I was able to sand it after the fact because I ended up doing enough coats of yellow, so that was fine. But it would have been better if I had just done it right the first time, so lesson learned there. I almost wish that I had hit this a little bit harder with the sanding blocks, but honestly, I think it turned out great. So I'm really excited about this. I think it's just such a fun little pop in this room. It's so like campy and fun. Not much more to say about this, to be honest. Just I'm super happy that I like stuck to my gut and went with it. Call me crazy, but I actually have one more project I want us to work on. Let's go. I do have another piece of furniture that I want to DIY, and it's my coffee table. The story with this coffee table is that in the pandemic, my friends and I moved into an apartment that had been occupied, but the people who were living there were breaking their lease because we were in New York City and they wanted to leave New York City during the pandemic to go back home to their families. So they left a bunch of their furniture just for us. They were like, if you guys want this, you can have it. We just don't want to deal with it. So that's how I got this coffee table. Ever since I first inherited this coffee table, I've been like, I want to paint that, because when we got it, it was like kind of scuffed up. It looks to me like either the people who gave it to us or the people who owned this table before them painted it themselves. There's just like signs of like amateur painting happening here, and whatever paint they used, I have a feeling it probably wasn't meant for furniture because it's like peeling off in large chunks. I wonder if they just use like acrylic or something. The table is behind me, that's why I keep looking behind me. You can't see it though. So I'm just going to continue the tradition of covering this table in an amateur paint job. I'm continuing the theme of bright and fun colors. The rug in this room that this table is on is blue, so I thought let's just opposite side of the color wheel, let's go orange. So I'm going to be doing like a monochromatic two-tone orange situation. I know I want to do checkers on the top, and then I want to use the two different colors on different parts of the coffee table throughout, but I'm not too set on anything, and before I can do any of that, I have to give this a major sanding. And what I learned from the side table is that I can't skimp on that step. I really got to be thorough about it, and I really have to be thorough about getting all the dust off. So I'm excited. I've wanted to paint this table for so many years. It's now day 2 of working on this table. Last night I got all the sanding done, which is very exciting because that took like 3 hours, I think, or like over 2 hours. I'm not really sure. but it was a pretty involved process. So I didn't get any painting done last night, but I did decide to actually be smart and look up technique videos on how to get a checkerboard pattern with tape. So I think I have a pretty good idea. Basically, I need to lay down one of the colors as just like an all over base on the top first, and then I'll let that fully dry, and then I'm basically just gonna like crisscross a bunch of strips of tape, and then I'll do the second color over that. So I think that this is gonna take a while, but it's actually pretty early in the morning. I don't think it's yet 10, so I'm gonna see if I can just lay down my lighter color of the two and then see if we can get started on this. I think while it's drying also, I'll also be able to work on some of the different sections of the table. So I'm gonna kind of be making this up as I go. I have a good idea of what I want, but I'm gonna kind of just like go for it and then see what happens. So I got the first color painted onto my checkerboard table. I looked up how you do this, and I think I understand how to achieve my pattern that I want, but I'm just gonna go for it and hope it works out. I'm a little nervous about the tape lifting up some of the paint, because from painting in the bathroom, I noticed that the tape does kind of lift up some paint, even though I'm using painter's tape. So I don't know. I'm just gonna go for it and just hope everything works out okay. This orange is gorgeous. It really doesn't read on my iPhone camera, which is like such a bummer, but in person, it's like kind of peach, but on the camera, I feel like it's reading like bright orange. But the next color that we're about to do is a much more reddy bright orange, so I think it'll be fun. Let's get into it. We are definitely in the final stages of the apartment being a total disaster, which is a huge relief. I still have to do a few more coats of one of my orange colors. I've got to do one more coat of the bright color now, and then I need to wait for that to dry completely, and then I can do the other checkers in the other direction. I also need a few more coats around the other areas that the bright orange is featured in. I want to make sure that this table is finished and dry by this evening, so that I can try and get it sealed tonight. Fingers crossed. It's already 10 a.m., so we'll see what kind of progress we can make. But I'm feeling optimistic. It's looking great so far. Let's keep going. Something that I am learning / remembering about painting projects is that you really could just keep doing them and keep doing them. It's hard to know when to stop. I could keep working on this forever. So I think it's time to take the tape off. Very exciting. I'm going to take the tape off and just look at what's going on, because we're already going to have to do some touch-ups with the lighter color. And in case we need to do any with the darker, I'd rather just like enter touch-up mode than keep being nitpicky. I'm not even just trying to be cute. This is the proudest I have ever been of something I've made. I know I've made a few sweaters that have really made me like take a second, but this is like, oh my god. This table is a real labor of love. I went into it having an idea of what I wanted. I knew I wanted the checkerboard. I knew I wanted to alternate the colors. But I didn't really know specifically what I was going to be doing until I started painting. And once I did, it really just came together. The colors that I chose ended up being perfect. Initially, I thought that I wanted the brighter of the two oranges to be like almost a neon. I'm really glad that I didn't end up going that route, because once they're put next to each other, it gives the pop and the effect that I was initially looking for with that idea. Of all three of the painting projects I did this week, this one was the one that taught me the importance of being detail-oriented. Neither of the other painting projects really needed to be like that precise. I guess you could say there were elements of painting the face on the smiley that needed to be precise, but I also knew that I was never going to get those lines as crisp as like a computer or something would, or a professional, so I kind of let that one go before I even started. But with this one, in order for the concept to work, I really had to be specific and precise. So there were a lot of times where I would work on this and then I would have to walk away and let things dry before I could revisit it, and I would just stare and stare and stare at little issues that were on it, and then I would go back and fix them. Towards the end, I started going in with a teeny tiny paintbrush, and I was going over every line of every checkerboard stripe and making sure that they were completely matched up in size, and I like cleaned all of that up. I don't know, y'all. This is just like, I'm really proud of it. There were a lot of hard to reach places on this table that I surely could have done a better paint job on. I think the big glaring errors when you really look closely at this table largely have to do with the fact that you can see a lot of visible uneven brush strokes. I'm okay with that. I mean, I didn't have a professional paint it. I painted it, so it makes sense that my technique is bad. I didn't end up like really going ham with the lacquer topping on this one. Kind of just wanted to make sure that this was like protected from, you know, any liquids that I put on it, but I wasn't really concerned about getting it like glass looking. But honestly, like, look at that reflection of the pan in this. It actually kind of ended up doing that. What else do I want to say about this? I don't even know. I'm really proud of it. Obviously, like, I'm sitting right next to it and I'm seeing all the flaws with it, but I just think it's so beautiful. I love the way that this with the smiley face table and my granny square blanket that my great grandma made on my couch all pull together to just make a really fun, colorful statement room. Man, I have to say, this piece has really got me thinking, what else can I do like this? Because I have had this table for years, and every single year I've said it would be the year that I painted it and did something fun with it, and I never have. And now that I have done that, I'm like, there's other stuff I can do this with. I don't want to get too carried away because I want these things that I've made this week to stand out, but it's really empowering to have an idea that's kind of out there and just go for it and then see it pay off and see it in your space and be like, this is exactly the living room of my dreams. It's a really cool feeling. On that note, I actually think I'm going to wrap up the video here. So I do just want to say thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any other ideas of things that I could, flip like this, or if you have any like suggestions of little DIY home decor things that you like to do when you move in somewhere, or things that you've done in the past that you really enjoyed making, leave them in the comments, because now I feel like I'm kind of jonesing for some more stuff like this. If you guys are new here, please be sure to subscribe to this channel. I make all sorts of crafting videos, normally fiber arts related, but I mean, who knows now? She's in her interior designer era. If you'd like to follow me on Instagram, my handle is @_thedropstitch, and I hope I get to catch you guys in the next one. Until I see you next time, please be sure to drink some water, stretch your wrists, and please pro responsibly. See y'all next time. Bye!